If you've never invested your money before, my hope is this will be the most valuable video you watch all year. Here's some harsh financial truths you probably should have learned in school. You won't become wealthy by saving your money. You also won't become wealthy by earning a big salary alone. And you definitely won't become wealthy if you spend all your money at BMW and Gucci trying to look rich. I've been teaching financial education for 10 years now, and what I've learned is if you want to become wealthy and not have to worry about money again, you need a step-by-step plan on what you do when you get paid. And that's why in this video, I'm gonna break it all down, starting with step number 1, get your mindset right. Many of us grew up with some sort of negative association with money. You might have heard that rich people are evil, money is bad, you shouldn't stress about money, don't worry about money. We create all these smoke screens around money, making it seem like it's a bad thing, when in reality, it costs money to eat, it costs money to have a roof over your head, it costs money to send your kids to college, it costs money to go to Disney World, it costs money to buy your wife that purse that she wants, it costs money to buy your husband that car that he wants, it costs money to buy health care for your parents. It costs money to survive. And yet here we are putting all these excuses out there as to why we are not financially stable, as to why we don't have money, as to why we can't become wealthy. And this is where you have to understand how money plays a part in your life, because the reality is life is not about money. It's about living a good, healthy, fit life. In my words, what I say is you want to be physically fit, mentally fit, spiritually fit, and at the top, financially fit. What does this mean? Because at the bottom, if you do not have physical fitness, if you're not healthy, if you're on your deathbed, if you're morbidly obese, it doesn't matter how much money you have, all you want to do is be able to be healthy again. Then you want to be mentally fit. If you're surrounded by toxic people, negative people, people that are just constantly bringing you down, you're going to feel stuck mentally. And you can't do anything when you're in that place. Sometimes you're going to need professional help. Other times you got to get all that toxicity out of your life. Then you got to be spiritually fit. This doesn't have to mean religious. This means what's your purpose on this earth? What's your reason for getting out of bed tomorrow? If you had $10 million in your bank account, what's your reason for wanting to get up and wanting to do something? That's what it means to be spiritually fit. What is your purpose? And then at the very top is the financial fitness. This also matters. Money matters because this is what's going to solve all the financial problems in your life. Yeah, it can buy you the nice cars, the nice vacations, but it can also remove a lot of the financial stress. It can't fix these things. It can't fix your physical stress, your mental stress, and your spiritual stress by itself, but it can solve the financial problems in your life, and it can buy you more things that you like doing. It can buy you more vacations, it can buy you more nice things, and it can buy you more time with your family, with your kids, with your wife, with your husband. Once you've laid the mindset foundation that I will become wealthy, it's important to become wealthy, this brings me to number 2, which is understanding the rules of money. And this is what every single person should have learned about money before you graduated high school. Let me show you. Our economic system is made up of 3 different players. We have the C, the I, the B, the consumers, the investors, and the business owners. Every single person, rich people, middle class people, poor people, is a consumer because everybody buys clothes, everybody needs a car, everybody needs a place to live, everybody buys food. When you go and spend money, you are a consumer. Where do you spend money? You go to a business and you spend that money, and investors are the people that own the business. So everybody's a consumer. Some people create a business, some people are investors, but every single person is a consumer. This brings us to rule number 1 of money. Money flows to the investor. What does that mean? When you go to Chipotle, well, you as a consumer are spending money at the business, which is Chipotle. Well, who does that benefit? Well, yeah, you benefit the employees at Chipotle because they get to keep their job, but as the employee at Chipotle, the max you get is your salary. And we know that salaries in general haven't really kept up with inflation. So when people spend more money at Chipotle, it benefits the employees because they get to keep their job, but the real benefit goes to the owners of Chipotle because the owners at Chipotle get to keep all the profit. Well, who is the owner at Chipotle? The owners are the investors. These are the people that own Chipotle, and guess what? Anybody can be an owner of Chipotle. Anybody can be an investor at Chipotle because it's a publicly traded company, which means you can go and buy 1 share, 1 stock in Chipotle, and now you get to benefit from being the owner. Why does this matter? Because when consumers spend money at the business, the person that's winning is the investor. So rule number 1 is that money flows to the investor. Rule number 2 is that inflation benefits the investor. We all know that inflation has been a hot topic for years now. But what does inflation do? Inflation makes consumption more expensive. What does that mean? When I go to Chipotle and I want to buy the extra guac, it costs me more money. I have to spend more dollars at Chipotle to pay for that extra guac. who does that benefit if I have to pay more dollars for this extra guac? Well, yeah, the employees got a little bit of a raise, but like I said just a minute ago, many people haven't seen their salaries rise fast enough with real inflation, so who's getting all the extra dollars? Well, if we just look at the diagram, the money is flowing to none other than the investor. This is why over the last number of years, we saw the stock market rise significantly faster than the inflation rate, and we saw the stock market rise significantly faster than the median household income. Over the last 5 years, the median household income grew by around 20%, inflation was around 23%, the stock market grew by around 80%. Inflation benefits the investor. So who's the person that's getting rich when you see inflation happen? None other than the investor. And then we have rule number 3, which is our tax code is designed to benefit the investor. As a licensed attorney, who's not your attorney, who keeps a copy of the federal income tax code in his office, which by the way is a more than 2,000 page book with 8-point font, what I can tell you is that our tax code is designed to give investors lower tax rates and bigger tax breaks that you don't qualify for as an employee. In the eyes of the IRS, all income is not taxed the same. So when you go to work and get paid, that's classified as earned income. Some people call it ordinary income. That's what the IRS calls it. When you go and you invest your money and you make money, this is classified as either portfolio income or passive income, depending on how and where you invested your money. Why does this matter? Because when you generate money through your portfolio income and your passive income, you pay lower tax rates or you get bigger tax breaks. You don't get that as an employee. So what's happening now? The average person is working a job to become a consumer that's spending money in this economic system that's benefiting the investor. Then we have inflation happen that the average person doesn't even understand. They don't even see it happen. And that inflation is making the average person poorer because now you got to spend more of your income to pay for your rent, to pay for your food, to pay for your trips. And all of this is benefiting the investor while at the same time, our tax code is giving the investor tax breaks and bigger tax deductions. Yet the average employee can't qualify for those. This is why it's so important for you to learn the rules of money, which brings me to step number 3, creating your financial base. Now that you have the right mindset, now that you understand the rules of money, let's talk about how do you actually put this into action. Because the first thing you have to do is you have to save $2,000 for an emergency. This is not $2,000 to buy a watch, not $2,000 for a vacation. This is $2,000 extra that sits in a separate savings account just there to protect you. And yes, you want to have a separate savings account, a separate bank account to hold your emergency savings because you don't want to accidentally spend it. The reason why you want to start with this is because the average American today does not have $1,000 to protect them against an emergency, and we know things happen. Sometimes cars break, ACs break, or windows break, and you want to have money to pay for these expenses so you don't have to go into credit card debt when it happens. Once you do that, that's when you want to pay off your high interest credit card debt. Let me show you why this matters. If you had the ability to invest just $100 a month and you could get a, say, 25% return on your money every single year, and you did this for, let's call it 45 years, you wouldn't have $1 million. You wouldn't have $5 million. You wouldn't have $10 million. You wouldn't have $20 million. You wouldn't have $30 million. You wouldn't even have $40 million. You would have more than $41 million with this $100 a month investment because you're getting a 25% return. Now you might say, well, Jaspreet, where in the world am I going to get a 25% consistent return on my money? Do you want to know who is? Amex, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. This is why it is so important for you to pay off your high interest credit card debt as fast as possible because you are making them rich. When you live off of a monthly minimum payment, you are paying for their private jets, you're paying for their big buildings, you're paying for their big bonuses, and it's all coming out of your hard work. That's why I want you to pay this off as soon as possible. When you are in this stage, when you don't have $2,000 saved up, when you have this high interest credit card debt, you are in what I call the financial danger zone. And in this step, number 3, you're creating a financial base. You have to make the most extreme sacrifice because you got to get out of the situation. What I like to say is in this stage, you should not be going out to eat at restaurants. You should not be going on vacations. And during this time, you should also not have a Netflix subscription. Now you say, Jaspreet, Netflix, what are you talking about? It's only $15 a month. It's not about the $15 a month. It's about the 2 hours of time that you're spending every single day watching Netflix while you are making these people rich. This is why you have to make some extreme sacrifice right now to get out of this financial situation, because you are in the financial danger zone. I want you to take that extra 2 hours and start learning. Watch YouTube videos on how do you make more money. Start taking classes on how do you invest your money. Maybe even go out and drive for Uber or take on some extra shifts, that way you have some extra money, because you got to save this $2,000 and pay out this credit card debt as fast as possible, because this is like chains with weight on it that's holding you back from ever having a chance to become wealthy. Step number 4, systemize your paycheck. Everything we've done up until now is lay the foundation. You started by building the right mindset, you learned the rules of money, and then you created your financial base. Once you have the $2,000 saved, once you get out of the credit card debt, now we can start building upwards because you've laid the foundation. And the way you do that is by creating a system for your money. Because what most people do is they have a financial system like this. You go to work and you get paid. Then, like most people, you go out and spend money, which, you gotta pay for your rent, you gotta pay for your groceries, you gotta pay for your fun, but you also have to pay for your taxes. Let's not forget about that, because those taxes are taken before you even see that dollar hit your bank account. So you pay your taxes, you spend your money, and then you wonder where all of your money went. This is what finances look like for the average American, and if there's anything left over, now you might save or invest whatever's left. We're gonna flip the script here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna work to earn money from your job. And as you start to invest your money, what you'll realize is you can pay less money in taxes legally, but let's just avoid that right now because I don't want to complicate it. So you pay your money in taxes, and then before you go out and spend, you divide up your money. Now you have money for spending, you have money for investing, and you have money for saving. This way, you can't spend all of your money because you created a system. And the first thing you need to do to make the system actually work is you got to have 3 different bank accounts. One for your savings money, which you just created in the previous step, one for your investing money, and one for your spending money. Then you want to automate it. So money hits this bank account. Your direct deposit goes into this bank account, and then you want to have an automation where money is automatically put into this bank account and this bank account. That way you can't accidentally spend your investment money, you can't accidentally spend your savings money. Remember, your savings are there to protect you against an emergency. Your spending is what you use to pay for your car, your groceries, your house, and everything in between. Your investments is where you become wealthy. Now you might say, well, Jaspreet, how much money do I save? How much money do I invest? A simple rule of thumb that you can follow is 75, 15, 10, which says for every dollar that you earn from here on out, 75 cents is the maximum that you can spend. 15 cents is the minimum that you invest. 10 cents is the minimum that you save. That way you're always saving and investing your money before you spend all of your money. That way now you actually have money to make you wealthy. And you might say, well, Jaspreet, I'm already struggling. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't have the money to invest as it is. How do you expect me to live off of 3/4 of every dollar that you earn? Here's what I gotta tell you. Number 1, this is going to take sacrifice. I'm not trying to sit here and sell you some get rich quick system that if you just follow the system, you're gonna magically become rich. It is hard, period. Number 2, think about it this way. If the government came out and they said, we are going to raise your taxes. We have heard this many times. What are you gonna do? Kick, scream, complain, cry? Well, eventually you're gonna have to pay it. But do you know why the government takes their taxes automatically out of your paycheck? Because they know that if they had you pay your taxes at the end of the year, most people would have already spent all their money and they wouldn't have the money to pay the government. That's why the government wants their money first. And so what you're doing here is you're essentially taxing yourself. But instead of taxing yourself to make the government rich, you're taxing yourself to make yourself rich. And now you want to put it in different bank accounts. That way you have money separate to invest and you have money separate to save. And once you do that, now you have the system in place to actually make you wealthy, because this is where your wealth is built, is through your investments. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into investing in this video, but I want to remind you that for those of you that are interested in investing, my team at Briefs Media publishes a free daily newsletter called Market Briefs, where we break down what's happening in things like the economy, the stock market, the housing market, crypto, and the global economy into a fun and witty and easy to read newsletter. We have hundreds of thousands of investors that read Market Briefs every morning. Plus, when you join Market Briefs, you'll also get access to our free investing masterclass that you can watch to give you a head start in investing. So if you want to join Market Briefs and get the free investing masterclass, all you have to do is click the link down in the description below. Step number 5 is spend money smartly. So now you know that you have these savings to protect you against an emergency. You want to have somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses saved, depending on where you are in your financial life. That way you have a cushion. Your investments are what will make you wealthy. This is where you're going to put your money to work. That way your money can hopefully make you more money. Now let's talk about how you spend your money, because the mistake that a lot of Americans make is they assume that if I have $1,000 in my bank account, I can walk into the Gucci store and buy a $1,000 scarf. Well, here's the reality. Number 1, the rule that I like to say is if it doesn't put money in your pocket, you should not finance it, period. The only exception to this is your house. So stop financing the Gucci, stop financing the sofas, stop financing your phones, even if it's 0% APR, and don't finance your car either. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a shock in a culture where debt is so normal, where it feels normal to just finance everything, but you don't have to. Yeah, you're going to have to make some sacrifices, you're going to have to cut back on some of your spending, and you might have to make some real big decisions on what's important to you in your life right now. But when you do that and you stop playing the payments game, you stop having money constantly leave your bank account. Remember, this is not a 2-month thing. We're talking about changing your financial lifestyle. And when you do that, well, now you can keep your money instead of just making your banker rich. And you might say, well, Jaspreet, why is 0% APR? I can finance my iPhone with 0% APR. Well, let's think about it this way. If you walk into the bank today and you said, hey, bank, could I borrow $1,000 at 0% APR for 6 months? What are they going to say? No, they're going to laugh at you. Why would the bank give you money for free? Well, the reason why the bank doesn't give you money for free is because there's a cost, the time value of money. So why would Apple or Android or whoever lend you money at 0% APR? The reason why they do so is because it's extremely profitable for them. They know that if they can sell you something with 0% APR, number 1, you're more likely to buy it because you don't have the pain of seeing $1,000 leave your bank account. If you had the pain of $1,000 leaving your bank account, maybe you wouldn't buy such a nice thing, you'd buy a cheaper item. Number 2, they know that many people are going to buy more stuff when you buy with 0% APR. When you buy a $1,000 phone with 0% APR, it doesn't feel like $1,000 because it's only $50 leaving your bank account. Now maybe you can buy a nice screen protector. Now you buy a nice charger. You buy some other accessories to go along with it because you don't have the whole pain of $1,000 leaving your bank account. So they get to make money again because they're selling you more stuff. And then number 3, companies also know that many people who buy with 0% APR are not going to pay it off in time, so now you get slapped again with the 25% interest rate. While you thought you were getting a deal, the company knows what they're doing, which is why they spend billions of dollars a year on the best marketers, on the smartest people to get you to spend your hard-earned money there. Now, I'm not against you spending money. I'm not against you buying nice things. But I got a problem when you keep buying things you can't afford and then you wonder why you're not wealthy. So, when it comes to you spending money, no more financing things that don't put money in your pocket. Period. Number 2, when it comes to luxuries, a simple rule of thumb that I like to follow is if you can't buy 5 of them, you can't afford 1 of them. You want to walk into the Gucci store and buy a $1,000 scarf? Great. You better have at least $5,000 to buy the $1,000 scarf. Now, the other part of this that I want to touch on has to do with an alternative way to invest your money. One way you can invest your money is by putting your money into stocks, into real estate, into startups, into your own business, into your own education. But there's another way that you can invest your money as well, and that is to pay down some of your lower interest rate debts. We already talked about paying off your high interest rate debts like your credit card debt in the creating a financial base step. Now let's talk about your mortgage, which is maybe at 4% or 5% or 6%, or maybe your car note, or your other lower interest rate debts. This is going to depend on you. If your goal is just to be financially free and not have to stress about money and not have to worry about payments, you could take some or all of this investment money and allocate it towards paying down your lower interest rate debts. That way you're debt free sooner and you don't have to worry about the money. The advantage is when you pay off your debt 1 year early, you get a guaranteed return on that money. If you pay off your student loans 1 year early, it's a guaranteed 6% return on your money because you don't have to pay 6% on your student loans. When you put your money in the stock market, you're hoping to get a 10% return. Maybe you get a 20% return. Maybe you get a 10% return. Maybe it's a 0% return. Maybe you lose 20%. So there's more risk in the stock market, more potential return, but when you pay off your own debts, It's a guaranteed return because if you pay it off early, that's interest that you don't have to pay. Which one is right for you? You'll notice that I don't try to push you into one thing or the other because your financial situation is different than mine. Your goals are different than mine. Your risk tolerance is different than mine. And the way you invest is also different than me. So you have to know yourself. That's why I'm such a big advocate on you learning how to come up with these decisions. That way you can make smarter decisions for yourself instead of just blindly following a random guy on YouTube. So when you're thinking about what's a better decision for you, I want you to think about what is your risk tolerance. Some of you are going to say, I love the idea of taking on more risk for more potential return. Some of you are going to say, I don't like risk. I just want to be financially free. Some of you are going to say, I am more experienced as an investor and I'm comfortable with investing. Others of you will say, I don't really like the idea of investing. I just want to have no more debts. And now as you start to go through these questions, you can make a better decision for yourself. Step number 6 is earn more money. Now, here's the thing. I'm talking about earn more money here towards the end of this process, not in the beginning, because most people assume that if I just made an extra $1,000 a month, all my financial problems would be solved. Now, I've been doing this for 10 years, and here's what I've learned. When many people work and work and work, and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you finally get that pay raise, and now you're making an additional $1,000 a month, all of a sudden your expenses, boop, go up by $1,000 a month as well. Sometimes your expenses go up by $1,100 a month. Why? Because when you start to make more money, you want to drive a nicer car to show off your new promotion. You want to go to Cancun to celebrate your new bonus. You want to celebrate this new lifestyle, this new earnings that you have, and the way you do that is by spending your money. And it's very easy to spend more money. Not to mention, your bank loves it when you get a raise because now you're also more credit worthy, because when you make more money, the bank wants to lend you more money as well. That's why for so many people, as you start to make more money, you don't actually see any more wealth because you're making more money and you start spending more money. You thought that you'd have more money to save and invest and pay down your debt and have this more freedom, but in actuality, you just buy nicer things and now all of a sudden, all of your hard work is constantly going out. This is why we're talking about earning more money here, because you've already systemized your money. You learn how to save and why it's important to save. You learn how to invest and why it's important to invest. And now you learn how to spend properly. Now, when you work to earn more money, you get the most bang for your buck, because as you earn more money, you're also saving more money. You're also investing more money. You also now can spend some more money as well, but you're investing and saving first, so you're building your wealth even faster. And because you've learned how to invest your money, you also learn how to protect your money in taxes as well, because you've become smarter at the game. Now, how do you earn more money? Look, there's entire programs that can talk about how to do this. You can work to build a side hustle. You can work to start your own business. You can work to increase in your career. You can work to get a new certificate. You can work to get another job. You can work to get a different job. Depends on where you are. Not everybody's supposed to start a business. Not everybody should start a business. I know there's a lot of people on the internet that talk about how you have to start a business. That's a bunch of crap. Most people should not be in the business of trying to start a business because it is very hard and it's a different skill set. You can make a lot of money as an employee. You just got to find your right job, your right career path. Maybe that's going to require you to get a certificate or work in a different job or a different career. I will leave that up to you. And finally, step number 7 is protect your assets, because the reality is people are going to want your assets. At the very base level, this means as you start building your wealth, you want to make sure you have the right attorneys, the right insurance, and the right accountants in place to help you protect your assets and protect your legacy. When it comes to attorneys, the reality is when people realize you have money, they're going to try to take their hand, put it in your pocket, and take some of your money for themselves. This is where you want to have a good attorney to protect you against whatever it might be that you're doing. If you're investing in real estate, having good real estate attorneys. If you're starting a business, having a good business attorney. If you're just working a job and you're building your wealth, having good estate planning attorneys to help you build a will, build a trust, to protect your assets. That way you build those protections in place. Then we have insurances. If you're investing in real estate, you want to have the right insurances. If you have a business, you want to have the right insurances. If you own a house, you want to have the right insurance. If you don't have any of that, you're working a job, you're working to build your wealth, you have a husband, you have a wife, you have kids, thinking about having the right life insurance in place, at least term life insurance. That way you have a little bit of a gap. You have some bridge protection. That way if something were to happen to you unexpectedly, your family would be okay if you were no longer there and you were the breadwinner of the family. So that life insurance can protect you. The reason why I like term life insurance is because number 1, it's a whole lot cheaper. And number 2, your goal isn't to build wealth through your life insurance. Your goal is to build wealth through your assets. And then when you have that wealth, well, you can get rid of the term life insurance and now you have the assets to take care of your family for you. If you want to learn more about that, you can check out one of our sponsors and affiliates. I have the link down in the description if you want to get a free term life insurance quote. And then number 3, having a good accountant. This is going to be much more valuable if you start a business, or if you're investing in real estate, or if you're doing more complex things with your money. Having a good accountant in place to make sure you're not overpaying in taxes. If you're just working a job, you're a W-2 employee, you don't need to pay thousands of dollars a year on an accountant, but it might be worthwhile to spend a few $100s to have somebody audit your tax returns, to make sure you're not overpaying in taxes, to make sure that you're not relying on a big tax refund, that you're paying the right amount of money in taxes. That way you can keep more money for yourself and not just give it away. And now that you know this information, the question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you just going to watch another video and just live on with your life? Or are you going to actually start taking action, start spending your money smartly, put money aside to invest, learn how to invest your money, learn how to put some money aside for savings? That way actually you can see a change in your life. And again, if you want to learn more about how do you actually take action on your investments, my team at Briefs Media publishes market briefs. When you join market briefs for free, you'll also get access into a free investing masterclass, and I have that link for you down in the description. This is how the majority of Americans statistically manage their finances. Let's assume that you make, as a household, $60,000 a year, which is $5,000 a month. Now, who's the first person that you're gonna pay? It's not Chipotle and it's not Amazon. It's the government. Because if you're working a job,